Welcome to Smash Metafiction. This week, we unearth the pieces of our favorite old stories and stitch them together into a brand new abomination that we like to call Collaboratory. Joining me this week are Kit Mulcairn.
So I drank that green liquid in that beaker, and now I can hear colors. and red is kind of an asshole, I'll just tell you that.
Meganbob.
Do I have to stay on this casting couch for the whole thing, or can I get up and...
I like this laboratory has a casting couch.
Yeah. It's a sexy laboratory, Kit.
This episode structure is nothing if not a weird mixed metaphor, so let's keep that going. And Liz Logan.
Assholes just aren't red, Kit. Get out more.
Wait.
No, it's beautiful.
This raises more questions I don't want answered.
I don't want any answers. I want that to live as a beautiful pearl of whatever the fuck it was.
For those of you who have not heard an episode of Collaboratory before, which I include among these numbers, our beloved Liz Logan, who had one job leading up to when we were going to record this. I was like, hey, Liz, have you listened to Collaboratory? And she's like, no. And I'm like, cool. Listen to it. It looks like someone hasn't listened to it yet. So I'm going to be explaining this not just for you, listener, but also for somebody who needs to participate in this episode. So the way that Collaboratory works is we have all brought a fictional character, each of the four hosts, and then one of us has brought a setting, one of us has brought a goal, one of us has brought a MacGuffin, and one of us has brought a set of genre conventions. And with these 8 elements combined, we are going to attempt to, in 1 hour, come up with the outline for a high concept movie. A movie that's largely built around some sort of unusual juxtaposition, oftentimes a fish out of water story, or a role reversal, or 2 people who have to work together who you would not expect to see working together. So it is that time, everyone. It is time for us to open up those Tupperwares and unwrap the foil and see what everyone brought. So, Bob, what character did you bring?
I brought I do not speak French, but the Marquis de Merteuil from Dangerous Liaisons.
Okay,
I know.
Ooh.
I don't know what that means, so why don't you explain that to me?
So in Dangerous Liaisons, these bored
Is that the one that became right, that's the one that
Yes.
became like Cruel Intentions, right? It's the same plot? Okay,
It is
cool.
the Sarah Michelle Gellar role.
Got it.
So yeah, the super manipulative, cruel, difficult to be around, and yet well-connected person. Like, she's dead inside, and the only thing that gives her delight is doing horrible things in a lot of ways.
Bored rich person who is kind of like sociopathic and gets off by like being a bit of a puppet master and ruining other people's lives.
Yeah,
for
but
her own
has
amusement.
hidden it really well.
Right, yeah,
And
totally passes as lovable and pure and innocent and everything like that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That is a very interesting character. Let's go over to Kit.
My character is going to be
Oh,
my favorite fucking Pokemon ever, Mew.
you know what?
You brought Mew. Kit, why don't you tell us what archetype Mew represents?
Mew is this ancient, I don't even want to call it an animal because it's the only one of its kind and it's immortal. It's seen as the first Pokemon ever. It's a progenitor. It's almost a sort of Kami, a spirit, if you will. But it's very sweet, a little mischievous, is certainly intelligent enough to like communicate through its cute little mews.
Would it be fair to say that the archetype of Mew is a sweet and mischievous and magical cryptid that maybe people are after?
that's perfect.
That kind of thing? Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, Liz, who did you bring for your character and what archetype do they represent to you?
I brought Xena, Warrior Princess.
Ooh.
From Xena, Warrior Princess, first shown on Hercules. And she fulfills the archetype of sort of evil turned good, who's on a mission to discover herself and hit lots of people in the face.
So
That's
we
a good
have,
archetype, hitting people in the face.
we have the person who seems like she's really nice, but she's actually really bad. And then we have a former bad guy who people may not necessarily trust, at least right away, depending on where we are in her arc, who's actually like a good person wanting to reform. So that's interesting. Like, those two could be interesting foils to each other.
Juxtaposition.
It is.
Ooh, you and your word a day calendar. I love that word.
The character that I have brought is Aldous Snow from Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh, I love it. I fucking
Oh
love
man, you're gonna have to
remind me
explain
who
that.
that is?
He is an English rock star. He is the frontman of a band
fuck
called
yes.
Infant
Okay.
Sorrow. He has like a bit of a Bono-ish vibe where he has this sort of like progressive, saving the world, love everyone, universal kind of like vibe to him. But he's
Claire.
also like super douchey and pretentious.
Inside of you.
Indeed.
Inside of you. Oh,
Right.
love it.
And he's super promiscuous and not a very faithful partner or anything like that. And yeah, has a bunch of tattoos all over his body from conflicting ideologies and doesn't really have a coherent moral philosophy under the surface of wanting to seem cool and progressive so that he can bang ladies, I guess. So
Wow.
that's Aldous Snow. He's a great guy.
That's such a great
I can already tell this is going to be quite the movie.
Right. Okay, let's go on to the next thing and let's see what we all brought for the other things. So, Bob, what did you have to bring for your ingredient, your bonus ingredient this time?
I had to bring the MacGuffin. I brought Rosebud.
You brought Rosebud. Okay.
What could it be?
Like
As in
the
from
Sims cheat code?
No. Well,
I mean,
Liz.
wait.
that is a reference to the movie Citizen Kane. Have you seen the movie Citizen Kane?
Spoilers for Citizen Kane.
I have not.
Okay.
I think Liz revealed that she is the youngest of all of us.
Oh, whereas the rest of us have been around since the
Can
40s.
you explain what Rosebud is without spoiling it?
I mean, it's a really old movie. Just fucking spoil it.
Well, I don't even think you need to say what it turns out to be. It's the last words or like a fragment of information from a dead person. And he was like this rich, powerful person and people want to understand why he said that and what it meant. And so there's a bunch of people that are investigating this one scrap that they have, trying to understand what it means so that they can better connect to this dead guy and figure out what he was talking about when he died. I think that's a cool MacGuffin. It's rather than being an object, it's a mysterious phrase that people don't know what it means, right?
It's Purple Monkey Dishwasher.
Kit, what did you bring for your secondary ingredient?
In my little Tupperware here, to further complicate this metaphor, I'm going to just pop this open and dun, 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 dun. I brought the goal from the Phantom of the Opera.
What's the goal from the Phantom of the Opera?
Dan and I were trying to figure that out. And we ultimately worked it down to uncover and defeat the mysterious figure that threatens the main character.
Okay.
We decided in order to make it so that it could fit in any setting, we didn't want the opera itself to be like the focus.
Right,
So
right.
there's got to be like this asshole, mysterious asshole that's bothering the main person.
Nice.
This is a very mysterious thing. We got a mysterious phrase, we got a mysterious figure, and we have a cryptid in this. So,
Oh yeah,
So-
fuck.
so Liz, what did you have for your bonus ingredient this time?
My bonus ingredient, whatever the fuck that means, is the genre. And my genre is a romantic comedy.
Yes.
What?
I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm excited.
Oh man.
All right. So, Liz, why don't you explain to us what it is you like about romantic comedies and what these sort of genre conventions are that you're hoping to bring in?
You know, this is a complicated question. Romantic comedies are a very philosophical point of...
Problematic often.
I'm hoping people who maybe wouldn't seem like they would be together discover similarities and embrace each other's differences.
I don't think there's any combination of the four characters that we have so far that is not an absurd and stupid pairing. So I think that works out.
And it has to start some way like, oh, we're both standing at a bar and I turn around because I'm a little drunk and I spill my drink on
Oh,
someone.
the meet cute.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, does anyone want to ask me anything?
Hey, Claire,
What's up?
what did you bring?
Oh, thank you for asking. I brought something too, don't you see here that I have? Oh, it looks like it's a setting. It's a setting from the TV show Misfits.
What?
So Misfits takes place in a town in England. A small, though not insignificant percentage of the population get endowed with superpowers. because of a mysterious or not mysterious event. But most of these people don't actually go on to either commit superpowered crimes or fight superpowered crimes. Most of them just keep living their normal lives, but some people in this small town now have superpowers.
Oh my
That's
God.
interesting.
That's so interesting.
The next thing we have to do is we have to come up with the log line, which is like the sort of one sentence summary of the movie. We're probably not going to start with something that short. We're just going to talk broadly and eventually whittle it down into a log line. So what's immediately springing to people's minds? How do you guys want to use some of these pieces?
Well, we straight up have two mysteries. We have a setting where people have superpowers.
Yes. We also have the goal of uncovering and defeating a mysterious figure, and we have Rosebud, so there's someone who said some mysterious piece of information that people are following up on, and there's people involved in a rom-com. So I kind of feel like what we need to do is, if Mew is the sort of progenitor, that's kind of part of this thing, we could have the idea that the presence of Mew, there was some like mysterious cryptid that came around at the time that everyone got these superpowers, and it somehow like bestowed superpowers on a town. And
Quite possibly.
and like part of the mystery could be trying to track down this creature, and like maybe two of the people chasing the creature could be some of the rest of our characters in some combination, and they could be having a rom-com thing happening as they're doing it.
That's charming and very different.
I was
I
going to say,
feel like-
Xena and Aldous, literally the only viable couple in this group.
Well, yeah, and then you got the Marquis, like, causing
a
problems.
manipulator, bad
Very
person?
rom-com.
Yeah.
Oh, so like a love triangle.
Okay, yeah, that could work.
Well, yeah, the Marquis just exists to fuck everyone's day up.
I mean, she
Right.
wants people to
So
love her
yes.
very badly. But yes, she is
So
horrible.
it's jealousy.
She's
It's jealousy.
yeah, always.
She's jealous of Xena.
slash-
oh no, but
slash
that's
boredom.
yeah,
That's actually a
exactly.
total rom-com convention, though. That's what Kit was talking about being problematic. The two women, we only talk about Aldous.
Oh, yeah, no, she'd be jealous of anybody.
Well, we can twist it and make it that she wants Xena
yeah.
to love her and is trying to get Aldous out of the scene.
I could buy
could
that.
work.
Interesting. I could go with that.
Who is the mysterious figure? Is that going to be Mew, or is that going to be like some...
Mew is the Phantom.
I mean,
Or
I
is
think
that- it is a
Aldous should be it because he's got all the tattoos of different shit on him.
He's like
he's
some
a
sort of
conundrum.
cipher.
Wouldn't it make more sense if the Marquis was maybe the mysterious
Right.
figure and the main characters don't realize
Yeah,
that the
I think
Marquis,
that-
who they were with the whole time, was actually the
Yeah,
bad
I think
guy.
it could be cool if it's the sort of thing where they meet the Marquis, and the Marquis goes back and forth between being a sort of like advisor type helper person, you know what I mean? Oh, also secretly the bad guy on the side, you know, that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
Oh, yeah.
that's
like
totally
turns
her.
out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I like that. So like the Marquis is some sort of rich benefactor type person, but on the sly is also secretly the main bad guy.
Oh my god, Xanatos.
Yeah, or yes, exactly. Or in the vein of pick from a lot of recent Disney movies. Don't say specific ones in case people haven't seen them, but there have been a lot of recent Disney movies where there's some sort of rich and powerful benefactor who turns out to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good way to go. They could either be just like pursuing Mew and catching glimpses of Mew. Also, at some point in the plot, they could like run across Mew and Mew could start following them around, and they could not yet realize that Mew is this magical progenitor thing that they might also be looking for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, oh, this thing we've been looking for is actually this weird little cat that's been following us, you know?
Yes, I love those
Yeah.
Yeah, we,
moments.
we could make Mew much more of a straightforward cat in this movie.
Right. We get a lot of cats in these movies. I mean, it is Save the Cat we're using, so I think we know which cat they're
Yes.
going to save this time.
You know, if we ever wanted to make a logo
Right.
for Collaboratory, I feel like there would have to be a cat in it.
Most likely.
And at the end, I want the Marquis to be like, "Oh, I'm so bad, but I love you so much, Xena. I'll turn good for you." And Xena's like, "No, you've wrought too much destruction." And then it's like evil nuclear explosion.
That's how it goes.
We will see what happens when we get to the end of this.
So if Xena's a reformed bad guy, and this is like a superpowered thing, is Xena like a former like minor supervillain or something who's like now a
I
good
like
guy?
that.
Yeah.
And Aldous, what's his deal? Does he also have superpowers? Is he like just
I
like
hope
a
No,
he's just like a
doesn't?
rock star guy?
he's a court jester.
What is that?
Wait,
He's such a
metaphorically?
There's not a literal court in this, so I believe that's a metaphor.
Okay.
I think it'd be cool if he had like a super sonic singing
Oh
ability.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
That could be fun.
And he's also a dork.
Give him wings or something too.
Why?
I don't know, so he can like live his dream of being an angel.
What if he's like, he resents that wasn't his superpower?
We have also the other element is the rosebud for our MacGuffin. So there's someone who
Right.
dies at the beginning of this story and says some weird, mysterious bullshit that sets our characters off on this journey to figure out what they meant and what that mysterious bullshit was. Do we want this to be a person who was hunting the cryptid? Do we want this to be a person who was like
The person
hunting
who died,
the
you mean?
phantom? Yeah.
Oh. I mean, it'd be pretty cool if they were hunting either the Phantom or Mew, because they could make that the last thing they said.
Right, yeah, something that sets off like Xena and or Aldous on this journey, you know what I mean? Some piece that they want to go investigate.
Kind of interested in it being somebody who the Marquis knows or has some sort of connection with, and she feels entitled to know what this thing is. And
Need something with misdirection, too.
Oh, that's the Marquis.
You know what? I'm trying to think about what this phantom is doing that's so bad, or this mysterious figure, you know? And we could go with the standard Scooby-Doo plot, where there is a person who's dressing like a monster to scare people away from a thing, because there's like a secret in this thing. You know what I mean? Whatever the secret of the like event that gave everybody superpowers.
Yeah,
the Marquis
absolutely.
is being like a phantom to like...
Government conspiracy. Illuminati. I think this could easily be a conspiracy.
It could be a conspiracy to cover it up or something. I mean, the Marquis would need to be involved in that probably, because we don't want more main characters apart from these people. So
Is the Illuminati a character?
I don't think anyone picks
Yes,
that.
kind of.
I really would like that.
such a good question.
Who do people want the Marquis to be? Like, is the Marquis some sort of government official, or like, do they own a corporation? You know, like the chemical corporation or logging corporation that like unearthed Mew or whatever.
I think
You know what I
she
mean? Like,
owns a corporation and has a power, but I think her power is probably some sort of, I don't know, what's the one where you can like influence people? There's a name for that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like an emotion control, right?
Yeah.
It would be fun if that's like kind of a reveal. That could be like a halfway through the movie reveal
Oh,
where you
yeah.
don't think she has superpowers, and then it's like, oh no, she got superpowers, and you're like, ah, and you're like, it makes so much sense that she had these superpowers. You know what I mean? That kind of
Yes.
Chocolate Corporation?
Yeah, sure.
Chocolate.
Sure. Cadbury's
yes.
Cadbury's evil chocolates.
thing. Sounds good. Why are Xena and Aldous doing this? And why are they working together even though they ostensibly hate each other? Like, what are they trying to gain from it?
Or do they first come together because they're both really interested in the mystery of Mew?
Not necessarily. That's kind of what I'm asking. You know, it's like, what is the reason they're both doing this together? For Xena, it seems like the reason that comes to mind for me as the best is like, if she's like a reformed bad guy, it could be a little bit about wanting to do right by the town that she was doing wrong for before. You know what I mean? Like, I can come up with a reason for her, I think.
I would kind of think that, so obviously everyone knows there's this concentration of supernatural stuff happening. Maybe she studied history and she sees this, she wants to go and, do Nancy Drew on it.
In the actual Xena show, it's tied to her wanting to repent from her past as a bad guy, right? So
Yes.
she's now just like a do-gooder. So
And she might not know where she's come from, and this might be her chance to figure that out.
that could be cool. That could be cool. And as far as Aldous goes, is he doing it as like a chasing fame kind of thing?
I like the idea that he, as Liz said, he has a superpower, but it's not the one he thinks he deserves or that he wants. And
that's
that
interesting.
he wants
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
get the one that he's like, this is the one for me. How dare you deny me my rightful power?
Wishes he could fly,
Exactly.
not scream real bad.
I'm picturing in this, he's maybe more of like a YouTube celebrity.
Oh,
Because
Influencer?
he could be like having a camera with them all the time and like having like there could be like some mockumentary elements to this. And he's like
Yes.
talking to his fans all the time on the camera as they're doing the investigation of trying to figure out what's going on.
Can he have ironically figured this out where he was like walking down the street and he saw like a newspaper stand and he reads the newspaper, sees someone with the superpower he actually wanted, and he goes like, what the fuck?
I think he should have a really terrible power then. Like, not even like anything related to singing. You know what I mean?
farts that
Yeah,
smell
okay.
great.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just something
Like-
so stupid.
I want it to be something like he can like secrete slime or something like
Oh,
awful. You know, he like
no.
doesn't tell people his power. Like everyone in the town has like a power and he doesn't tell people his because it's like fucking gross and weird. He has like eyes on his butt or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, butt
So-
eyes.
I like he can produce like slime.
All
like
right.
sticky
you
goopy
know what?
slime.
I think that's a good
because
call.
it's like very unsexy, but it might prove useful by the end of the movie if he like learns to get over his hangups about it. And I
Okay,
think that's
I
like a
like
good
that.
arc for him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Okay, so let's just run over what we got so far. So there is a small town that in the past, for some mysterious reason, got endowed with a bunch of superpowers, and people think it might be associated with some sort of cryptid who is Mew in this. There is a person who's like a small town crime fighter who's trying to figure out the mystery, and that's Xena. And then we also have another person who's trying to investigate this mystery, a rock star YouTube celebrity with a gross power that he's ashamed of, and that's Aldous Snow. He teams up with Xena because they're both working together. He has more like, I guess, fame and connection and stuff like that, and she has more of like the actual useful superpowers. I imagine she's like superhuman strength and stuff. And we also have perhaps like a benefactor who seems to be helping them out at first, who's the Marquis, who's the head of some big corporation, but this corporation is actually in some way secretly responsible for the thing that they're investigating, and she's actually trying to cover it up, and she has an alternate identity where she's a supervillain, evil person, and yeah, also at the beginning, there was a person who died and said a mysterious thing, and that's like the event that kicks it off, is they're trying to figure out what this mysterious phrase was that they said.
Yes.
Are we missing anything? We got it?
I think you nailed it.
All right, cool.
Beautiful.
So anyone want to try to do the one-sentence version of that?
Okay. Unlikely investigators come together to save a town from mysteries. Sorry, that fell apart.
Just to solve the mystery of why everyone in a small town got endowed with superpowers.
Yes.
It's chock full of action.
And
it?
also
chocolate.
Oh, because of
full.
chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, evil
action.
chocolate. Well, I don't know. It might be evil chocolate. We'll find out. The
A
kids ate
slime
chocolate
ball
and
full of
got.
fun.
Oh my god, they ate the chocolate, and that's what the thing is. That's how you get it.
Oh, that's a great, we'll get to that later, but that's cool if like it was chocolate that gives you superpowers because it had like a corrupt radioactive water supply or something weird like that. That's interesting. That's really cool. All right.
A special strain of cacao bean.
Oh.
Cacao?
Cacao?
Cacao.
I think it's cacao, which sounds like that.
Cacao. There you go.
All right, so now we're going through the beat sheet. In the book Save the Cat, there are 15 steps outlined that every movie goes through. I have it simplified for the sake of this podcast down to 12 steps that we're going to work through. We're going to take a minute for each one and fill in what we think would happen in this section of the movie. So there are 12 of them, just to give you a rundown of what they're going to be. It is opening image, theme stated, catalyst, break into act 2, B story, fun and games, midpoint, bad guys close in, all is lost, break into act 3, finale, and closing image. We are going to get started with the opening image. The opening image, we're going to get introduced to our main characters. We're going to see who they are, what their sort of routine is, and what it is that they want. Right now, they're in a relatively stable situation, but there is something that needs fixing in their life, and generally they also need to learn some sort of lesson.
Can I go first?
Sure, yeah. Which character do you want to start with as like what their day-to-day is?
Mine, obviously.
Xena? All right, so what's Xena's day-to-day?
So Xena's studying at Oxford, and she goes to sit on a chair at the library, right? So she pulls the chair, and she just like accidentally flings it like 10 feet away.
Oh no.
And she's just like, oh.
Oh, I'm trying to fit in, but I can't. And then maybe you also have her like a scene of her later, like going off and fighting crime. And like, that's the time where she feels more comfortable because she doesn't have to hold back or whatever, you know? And then she's like trying to be like a normal person too and having some difficulty with that.
Since the Marquis is in charge of a chocolate company, like there needs to be some shots of like London industries, and it needs to linger a little bit longer on like chocolate being wrapped up.
Yes.
It's like the foreshadowing, but it's
we
so
can have
insignificant, you have no idea.
Or alternatively, we could have like the Lord of War opening, but instead of being about a bullet, it's about a chocolate bar.
Yes.
A chocolate bar getting made, and we see it every step. And in the end, instead of like shooting someone, it like goes into like a vending machine and then falls, and then Xena picks it up and eats it or something like that.
So good.
She's like studying eating a chocolate bar. You know?
Or that Aldous picks one up out of it, and he's like he's a little bit too slimy, and he drops it, and he has to pick it back up again. He's like, oh, and then
That sounds
quickly
good.
wipes his hands.
Maybe he's always like wearing gloves or something.
And he's passing it off as some sort of affectation.
Right. He wears like a scarf around his neck. He's like all covered up all the time. And, like, you know. All right. So yeah, what do we think like Aldous' first scene is going to be like when we get to see him and his like normal routine?
Oh, him answering YouTube comments.
We want to set up the idea that he's kind of stagnated, right? Because we want it to be like he wants to get more famous and he wants to go after this mystery, you know? So like what would be a thing you could do to show like that for like a celebrity, you know, like maybe
get recognized in a small place where you don't particularly want to be recognized. Someplace really just the bathroom at a bar or something, but not a nice bar, like an old man bar.
It could be a thing where maybe some people recognize him and then he thinks they're going to be like fans, but then they kind of like just like make fun of him or whatever and leave. And he's like, I thought I was like cool famous, but I'm kind of lame famous.
That
you know what
is
I mean?
The purest example of Britishness that I could think of. It's just going, hey, you're mildly successful. Fuck you. Yeah.
Do we want to have an opening scene of the Marquis as well?
I think we should.
Okay.
She's gonna be the like head of this chocolate company, right?
Oh, see, I think that's too soon. I think that should be revealed later. We don't want to play all our cards right now.
So she's not like going to be a point of view character at the very beginning. She gets introduced in a couple scenes.
Maybe introduce her as leader of the chocolate company later on.
Sure. Okay. The next step is theme stated. Theme stated is where a character is usually going to say to the main character, or the main character is going to say either what is the theme of the movie, or they're going to say the exact opposite of what the final theme of the movie is going to end up being. And by the end of the movie, we're going to learn one way or the other whether they were right or wrong. So what are we thinking about based on what we have so far about what our big theme is, what like the messages are for this this movie that we're making? Anyone have any thoughts?
Probably accept yourself for who you are, something like that.
I think that's what we're sort of touching on a little bit with Xena and with Aldous.
Like, it doesn't matter where you come from, it's what you make of yourself.
Right, yeah. So I actually think that, if you guys don't mind me getting a little personal with this, when I was like coming out as being trans and stuff like that, I was getting some pressure from some people, like, because a thing that you're kind of supposed to do when you're doing this is like go see a psychiatrist and like talk to them about it before you start doing any of the like transitioning things, you know? And I actually didn't want to, because me being trans doesn't cause me any stress in my life. Like, I have sources of stress or depression in my life, but they're not related to my gender. They're about more like career stuff and like fulfillment in other elements of my life. And I never really felt a desire to figure out what was going on with my gender that way, because I don't see it as a problem that I need to fix. So why do I need to figure out why it's happening? You know what I mean?
Nice.
Like,
yes.
Totally know what you mean.
So I feel like that can be kind of the message here, is like, you don't need to know who you are if you accept who you are, because then it's not a problem, and you don't need to know the answer if it's not a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
I do like that. I love it cuts through all of the, oh no, we have to deal with the mystery of this thing. It's like, well, but you have the thing now. It's fine.
Right. I think that can be a little bit of Mew, like wanting to figure out what Mew is, and by the end, our answer can be, he's a little lovable magical creature that gives people superpowers. And they're like, well, why is he that though? Or like, he's great. What's the problem? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, why you gotta solve this? Just enjoy it.
Yeah, why is the sky blue? He's a little guy. Like, get over it.
Do we think Mew is a he? I think Mew is an it or a she.
Kit, as the one who brought Mew to the table, pick some pronouns for Mew that we will use going forward.
It's an it. It's an animal.
Okay, so we're using it pronouns. So, theme stated. Who states the theme or the exact opposite of the theme, and in what circumstances?
I like the first part, like the opposite, where it's like we have to find out why things are the way they are. Aldous could be saying that to his stream and trying to spin some kind of investigative journalist story.
Yeah, if somebody says something like that, you know, about, just have to accept it, then Aldous is like, whatever, that's dumb, you know? Aldous says, like, once we figure this out and, like, what's going on with these powers, then, because, you know, he wants, like, we can have whatever powers we want and we can control everything and everything will be awesome. And this reminded me of X-Men First Class. Remember the whole mutant and proud thing?
Yes.
Like, that's that moment of this. Like, so what would be a thing that Aldous would say as, like, it could be, I want it to be like a phrase he can have, like, tattooed on himself that is the exact opposite of the lesson he needs to learn by the end about, like, figuring out the truth. Like, the truth is out there kind of thing, you know? So.
Truth is power in, like, ridiculous gothic script.
Something along the lines of, like, never settle for yourself.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
that's good.
He always wants to be better, and that kind of like there could be like a little bit of a self-help kind of thing to it. Yeah. I like never settle for yourself.
Yeah.
That's a good phrase.
Yes.
He can have that like tattooed on himself.
In gothic script, I agree.
On his chest.
Oh, no. Shouldn't it be like right around the V area? Like
yes.
right above his crotch?
Yes.
Great. That's our theme stated is there's some
Why a tattoo above some genitals?
as somebody's about to go down on him, he explains what the tattoo means, and then he says, "Give me a minute," and then he like goes and towels himself off really thoroughly to make sure there's no secretions.
So perfect.
This is too gross, I think. Never mind.
No,
Forget all of that.
I love it. It's so British and gross
All
and
right.
beautiful.
Okay, so the next step we have is the catalyst, but before we do that, does anyone want to save a cat?
I have an idea.
Go for it.
Oh, yeah.
Xena has to save Mew, or at least think she's saving Mew. Like, I see Mew as not actually being in any trouble.
Yeah.
It's a cat with superpowers that the characters don't know it has superpowers yet. Mew looks like a kitten that isn't like a tiny, tiny little kitten. Like it's a cat that's just short of a year.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where cats are kind of like still small. And it's white with blue eyes.
Yeah.
Because that way it still looks like Mew. And maybe a slightly longer than normal tail, but that's about as weird as it looks to people.
It's not necessarily going to come out right now, but I like the idea that, like, if Mew in this is the thing that gave everybody superpowers, Mew should have kind of, like, low-level Jack powers that come out every once in a while, that Mew just kind of does everything a little bit, you know what I mean?
I think it's very much in control of its own powers, but yes, maybe it does, like, rando powers when convenient for the story.
Indeed, yeah. And I don't think that's necessarily going to happen now, at least not while the main characters are looking, because we don't want them to know it's a superpowered cat thing. Where do we want to say that Mew is trapped?
I don't know. Is someone being mean to Mew? Is there a Mewtwo figure around here who's trying to kill Mew?
The first thing I thought is Mew is like on the side of an apartment complex, like on a ledge, and I'm walking down an alley and I'm like, oh my god, there's a white cat up there.
You mean Xena?
Fuck. Xena goes, oh my god, there's a white cat up there.
Liz is
And I
yeah,
climb up the fire escape.
That would be fun if, like, it's a whole long chase scene, and it's like a little bit of a Mr. Magoo thing, where, like,
Yes.
danger keeps on getting very close to the cat, and then it keeps on avoiding it at the last second.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
Xena's,
Yes.
like, chasing after it to try to, like, save it from stuff, and the cat's just like, do-do-do-do-do, it's just, like,
Yeah.
quietly
Yeah.
walking. And I actually like the idea that at the very end, like, Xena gets smacked by something, or, like, you know, messes up in some way, maybe even, like, runs into the road and stops a car by letting it hit her.
Yeah.
And then she
Oh,
like,
nice.
and then she like looks, and the cat's gone.
Right.
And then like people yell at her for like, she's like, I was trying to save the cat. And they're like, what fucking cat? There's no cat.
Yeah, Xena looks up and Mew is like on a wall, like
Right.
several meters away, just licking its junk.
Typical cat.
It's got the like leg in the air cat lick thing.
Getting deep in there.
All right, so that's our save the cat thing. Now for the catalyst. This is the thing that gets our heroes out of their normal day-to-day and gets them onto the main quest that this movie is going to be about, which in this case is their goal to figure out the mystery with this mysterious figure and what's going on with the cryptid and stuff like that. So, well, actually, although the stated goal is uncovering and defeating the mysterious figure, so that's actually probably what they should be maybe doing a little bit more, although we can fudge that a little bit depending on what we think makes for a better story. So
Yeah, the mysterious figure, I suppose we can have the antagonist begin to present herself.
our question is, was the person who dies, who's going to leave behind the clue, were they hunting the Phantom or were they hunting Mew?
I think they're hunting Mew. I think they think that Mew has to do with the stuff that happened.
Sure, that sounds fine.
Oh, what if literally everyone is hunting Mew, including the Phantom?
Yeah, that would work. So, who is this person? In what circumstances do they die? What mysterious stuff do they say? What if this person, Xena finds them and they die and like collapse in her arms and say a thing while Aldous is filming it? Like, he's maybe following her as she's doing some crime fighting. And this guy is maybe like on the run from the Phantom thing and like gets a knife in his back or whatever. You know what I mean? And then Xena finds him and is trying to fight the Phantom thing, but the Phantom gets away. And then he says some mysterious stuff and Aldous films it. And then he puts it on his like YouTube page or whatever. And then Xena's like, I'm going to solve this. And Aldous is like, cool, I'm going to film you and keep going along with you so we can solve this together. And then after this thing that Aldous films goes viral, the Marquis calls them in and is like, I think it's great that you're doing this. I'm throwing my full support behind it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
And
like,
Aldous could have first seen it when Xena was chasing Mew. Like, he could have been there at the car crash and not filmed that, but been like, whoa, she's still standing. And then...
oh yeah, and so he decides to start following her as she's like doing her crime fighting or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
that could work.
Yes.
So what is the thing that this person is going to say.
I sort of like the idea of them just saying Mew. But no one knowing that that's the name of, this creature.
I think that the thing that we need it to be is something that points to a place they can go.
Ah.
Right,
to get them
because
to the,
it needs to be
commune or whatever.
it needs to be him telling them something so that when we start and they're going on their quest, they have a place they can go investigate.
I just want him to say the old chocolate mine.
Should he say chocolate?
What's the place that they're going to go to? Is it going to be like an abandoned factory out in the forest or whatever? You know what I mean? Like,
I was thinking it would be like a whole town who's living with this dark secret right now, and they're not welcome when they get there. Like I said, I would like coordinates. I think that'd be cool and cryptic.
I also, especially in a place that has a lot of history layered over it, would be the name for a place before that name changed.
oh yeah, if
Ooh,
he says
yeah.
something like Rose Hill or whatever.
Exactly.
That's better. That's better, yeah.
They go, oh, it's not called that anymore. It's all developed now.
So I think we're reaching our break into Act 2 then, because that's the catalyst. Is he says that the thing goes viral. The people from the chocolate company come and they're like, we're going to fund you. And like, here's a bunch of gear and here's a better camera and here's a better superhero outfit, Xena, so that you look good. And it has our little logo on it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Because then we can have it, if this is like the benefactor is going to turn out to be a bad guy, it can have like trackers in it and like bad stuff that they can like turn against him at the right moment, because that's what you want when you have like the bad benefactor, right?
And when are we gonna say, why is a chocolate company CEO helping us with this?
Right. I mean, they can be like concerned about that as well, but I think that she could pass it off as like, we're from this small town just like you, and we want to know the mystery of why all these people got superpowers just as badly as you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We do a lot of public outreach and we support our local superheroes and stuff, so
I think it's really important that we start to establish some of the rom-com vibe of their connection. Whatever, is there a moment that happens before Act 2 or in Act 2 once the connection starts happening?
Generally, that stuff starts to happen at step 5 of the movie. Right now, we're at I hate each other, I don't want to work with you. You know what I mean? So if we want to have those kinds of scenes now of like anything of them butting heads, then like feel free to say that, but we're not at them like starting to like each other yet, really. So
Oh, I do like him doing gross camera work stuff that it's just like how he learned how to do it.
he could be kind of like objectifying her, or that kind of thing, where he could be like wanting her to maybe wear something more revealing, or like telling her to smile more or something like that.
And then she punches him.
And he could be like holding the camera up and doing like voiceover stuff, talking about her as like a narrator in ways that she's not like, where
This sexy Amazon with thighs that could crack walnuts. And it's like, what are you doing?
All right, so now we're at the break into Act 2, where we enter into what's going to be the main arena of conflict that's going to last for most of the story that we're telling. Often it is accompanied by a crossing of a threshold from one type of space or one world into a new space or a new world. So what do we think is they're doing from leaving their old world and going into the new world that this story is going to be? What does that represent?
Well, I think they're arriving at the town. Like, this was all like traveling,
I think, because you talked about this idea of another town, I think the mystery is of the town that they're in, right?
That's how I was thinking of it, as the town that they're in, but there's another side to it that's the corporate evil side.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I guess it's going to be they're traveling to this forgotten part of the town. I think it could be cool if it's like abandoned and overgrown or something like that. You know what I mean? Like maybe like the infrastructure's broken down there.
I would like to establish something.
Yeah.
Mew has been following Xena since she attempted to like save it. It just thought like, oh, that's an interesting person.
Cool.
Yeah, Mew just likes diversion. So I think Xena was a funny human and he was going to follow her.
Oh, so yeah, the one scene that we're probably going to have before they go there though is we're probably going to have both like a library scene where they like figure out where the location is and they're doing all the research, and then like a suiting up scene,
Yeah, of course.
They probably like
montage.
Do they get like a car or something? Like what kind of vehicle are they driving in?
Oh, like a mini kind of car.
Yes,
like the
one of those
miniest
little
of Mini
smart
Coopers.
cars.
All right, so next up we have is B story. This is, in addition to the main plot that's going on, there's some sort of side plot. Oftentimes it is either friendship or romantic relationship, though not necessarily. It's another story that we're also dealing with. So I think this is the rom-com plot at this point, right?
Well.
Yeah. What do you guys think about rom-com scenes between them? Like, they probably have like they get closer, they get further away. Oh, they like each other more. Oh, they hate each other. Like, what are some kind kind of things we can have at this scene of like the kind of back and forth.
Bag. At one point, he sort of is vulnerable and says something like, I wish I had powers like yours, or something like that. And she's kind of okay with that, but also going, you're probably just being gross. It's like, no, I was being, you know what? You're right. I was being gross.
Oh, yeah. It could maybe be interpreted as like a weird pickup line or something, you know what I mean? But he's like actually being genuinely vulnerable.
And then at one point, like he puts something down and she picks it up and it's a little bit slimy. He's like, don't touch that.
Oh, yeah.
And freaks out. And she's like, what is wrong with you? Look, I was just trying to clean off like whatever was on this. It was gross. And then he's like, and he's all ashamed
You
and
wound
sad.
me.
He has to be vulnerable in this other way too. I think because he's such a dick like character that he has to be vulnerable a couple of different times for us to start to go, okay, maybe you can.
It actually would be kind of cool since he's going for the whole internet fame thing. If he there's some sort of like comment that, or like a reaction video or something where there's somebody who like makes fun of him or takes him down, and he ends up seeing it, and then Xena sees like how much it affects him. Yes. And he kind of like crumples, and you can tell he like, it's like, like his like tough guy thing's kind of a front.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And his like macho-ness is kind of a front, and he's like really insecure, and he's like not as much of like this swaggering alpha male as he pretends to be.
Mine would be like they're, this is stupid, but I want a campfire and they're roasting marshmallows.
Yes. Go on.
And, it's so rom-com-y. So he's roasting his marshmallow and he gets a little too close to the fire and he, singes the glove on his hand he's wearing. Mm-hmm. And he goes like, and Xena's like, hold on, I took like 5 biology classes, I'm pre-med. And she runs over and takes off his glove real fast, and, his hand is all slimy. And she's like, and he's like, no, look away. And she's like, no, give me your hand. And she's looking at his hand and sees it's slimy. And she's like, what is this? Do you have really dry hands? Is this Vaseline? And he's like, no, you have really cool superpowers. I have super slime. And Xena's like, oh, wow, this is fascinating. I would love to study this. And he's like, no, it's not fascinating. And she's like, no, it is. You would not believe all the medical applications this could have. And he feels like he's, worth something.
I like that. We might want to file this away to use it later, but I like it a lot as a scene. It might be a little too early for it, but I do like it a lot.
Okay.
Oh, so much.
For next up, we have fun and games. So the fun and games section is whatever your movie is about, like whatever's on the movie poster, this is the section where most of that stuff comes. This is where all of the trailer stuff comes in. If it's an action movie, this is where you get all your cool action stuff. It's like, we're in the second act. Whatever the thing is, we're doing the thing. Whatever the premise is, we're fully engaged with it. So in this case, I think it's us doing investigation and probably superheroic action, maybe some battles with this phantom thing. So what are some scenes in this section that we want to have?
So you guys want it to be that Mew coming around is part of the reason why everyone got powers?
Right. What I'm thinking it is it's something like Mew was maybe in some sort of stasis, is what the ultimate mystery is going to be, and it got, like, uncovered by this company, and, like, doing so, it ended up there was some sort of radiation or whatever that contaminated some of their materials, and like the chocolate bars ended up, maybe it was like in a tree or whatever, and like they used something from the tree to make some stuff, and the people who ate that particular batch of chocolate got superpowers,
Well, okay, first of all, Mew is very old, so it could just be that it sleeps for a long period of time, and then when it does wake up, Mew has the ability to transform into basically anything, so it just transforms to whatever it kind of feels like it wants to get around, so it transformed a little white cat. I don't know, when you were saying that thing earlier, I just imagined civets and their coffee.
Yes!
What's that?
A civet is this...
Oh, no. Eating cacao and pooping them. Oh, no.
Yes, is a feline-like animal. Well, there's a specific type of civet that eats, like, the specific type of coffee, and people harvest the poo because supposedly it makes better coffee.
That would be interesting. Yeah. So it could be a thing where like they find this like mysterious ingredient in the woods that they use to make like this
uber chocolate.
And they don't know that it's Mew poop.
No, let's not do that.
Well,
actually.
I love it.
I was gonna say, but like Mew could have something, like Mew could be doing something to the trees around the area where it woke up,
peeing
and
on
that's
them.
where it started.
Or just rubbing up against them like cats do.
Usually I'm the freaky one, Claire.
All right, so what we can do is we can have it be a thing where they harvested a bunch of like trees, and Mew like magically made the trees like grow back or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So it can have like a little bit of that Amaterasu
Fertilizer.
vibe where it like makes all the trees grow back because it's like a sort of a nature spirit in this version.
Yeah.
And then when they harvest the stuff, if you eat chocolate made from it, you get superpowers. But that was something that Mew didn't necessarily intend. It was just making the trees grow, but it just has like this natural, like magical superpowered energy.
So wait, why does the Marquis want Mew exactly? Like, does she want to raise like lackeys, like some kind of?
I imagine if you just have a thing that can give people superpowers, there's all sorts of reasons why you would want it. We don't necessarily need to nail that down, but yeah, probably some sort of like make a lot of money and or control the world type thing.
Yeah,
like
certainly the last thing she would want is for somebody else to have it. I'm trying to think of why the Phantom would come down there, or if the Phantom would herself come down there, or if she would fight them directly, or if she would probably just lurk in the shadows and like.
It would actually be cool if her superpower is she can project like a shadowy version of herself, like remotely.
Okay, I could see that.
Because that lets it be that it can follow them, and she doesn't need to necessarily be following them. She can, like, kind of astrally project, like, a dark shadow version of herself that has, like, some superpowers.
Okay.
But when she does it, like, her actual body, like, falls asleep or something.
I was kind of picturing her almost as a Lex Luthor, like, up in her tower and
Right.
then looking
And so
at photos.
the cool thing about that is if that's her power, she doesn't ever have to leave the town or, like, leave her chair, and she can still fight them, like, when they're
Nice.
out doing stuff. You know what I mean? So...
All right, so probably they would be at their most at risk if they're asleep, so jumps on top of Xena, tries to, like, strangle her or something, and then Mew bats at this shadow thing, and the shadow thing turns and hisses at Mew, and Mew hisses back, and then the hissing wakes up Aldous, and then Aldous goes, oh God, and then starts just kicking furiously, hoping that will work out.
And that's when we know things are real.
Yes.
Do we want it to be trying to kill them? Because in theory, it's like trying to use it to find Mew, right?
Yeah, I'm worried we're not doing right by the Marquis by not letting her be manipulative enough.
Right.
She's got to be, like, pretending to be on their side for a good portion of the movie.
Yeah, well, the thing is that this monster, they don't know it's her, and that's why it's okay for it to be fighting them. You know what I mean? But I just think
but that doesn't represent her.
Right. Well, I think that if she does use this, then she would want to use it in a more calculating way, not to like as like such a blunt force thing, you know what I mean? As a way to like goad them or motivate them into taking specific actions, you know? So what she wants to do is not only to catch Mew, but it would be interesting if she's trying to trick them into destroying evidence in some way. Right? Of like what happened, that they were responsible for doing this thing. So it could be interesting if like the Phantom is trying to convince the heroes that the Phantom has some sort of either like base or source of power or something that it's trying to get them to destroy. But in truth, that's actually a bunch of evidence that if they destroy it, that it will like, you know, maybe help cover their tracks or something like that.
What if they found evidence that she was there for the original incident? And she's like, oh, I don't know what happened. Like, I want to find out my history. And then they see, oh, look, that's her.
Right. So now the question is, why isn't she going in there and doing this herself? Are there like dangers or monsters or things in there?
Oh, I think it could be like the nuclear fallout of this place or whatever it is, that it alters your powers in some way. And it's too strong. I don't know. Your slime becomes, you know, too slimy. Your strength becomes too strengthy.
And she doesn't want to risk it herself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if it's a thing? Yeah, there's an aura, and as you get closer to it, so like this whole area of like town, this like district of the town is like closed off on all sides with like, you know, fences and razor wire and stuff like that. And if you go in there, your superpowers start getting stronger, but it also starts like messing with your mind and turning you into a monster. And I think it would be cool. We can have a couple people that were in there that are like big crazy monster people that they have to fight.
Or like a really jacked squirrel.
Or a really jacked squirrel. Or like...
this like wildlife where shit has gone slightly awry. And I also like the idea of Mew getting stronger as it goes around. Not necessarily stronger, but I guess the powers becoming more overt to other people.
Can I ask why, though? Why is this area like that?
Whatever tree that Mew was in at the center of this area that they like opened it out of is just like concentrated Mew juice. Like, you know what I mean?
So the Mew was hibernating in a tree or some shit. And that tree, that was like tree zero.
Yes.
And that tree was harvested.
Yes.
And since the tree was chopped up and shit, it's like aura started to leak out. And so this And all that chopped up tree and stuff is still in this facility,
and
affecting things.
Right, and the plants that Mew made grow back have been like spreading and growing like crazy. They like grow, maybe they're like really aggressive vegetation or something like that. You know what I mean? And mutant monsters.
They fight a squirrel with so many muscles and like 80 tails.
They don't have to be fighting people. They could be fighting whatever animals didn't leave the area that have gotten changed.
Right, exactly. They fight a dog that can transform into two dogs.
A hawk that has like legs. I don't know what kind of legs. Like
horse legs. A hawk with horse legs.
They fight a porcupine that can turn invisible.
Oh my god.
Oh my god!
Like I'm thinking
worst.
like legit though, like big scary weird monster things
like,
that are like used to be an animal, but it's
and
actually
then
like
the final, like the last thing that they fight that's a big scary monster is like a badger that's the size of a Shetland pony.
The last thing I want to point out that we have here, in addition to them, they fight monsters. They like go. They also need to like go through abandoned buildings and like find clues.
Yes.
They need to like find like footage, whatever journals. If this is a video game, like all the audio logs that everyone apparently takes all the time. You all know how you keep audio logs explaining at the end of your day. Finding that kind of stuff about like the people who initially found Mew, and they're getting pieces of it, but it doesn't quite make sense yet of what's going on.
Please let there be a picture of the marquee, but under a different name, like in a smashed picture frame.
Nice.
Yeah, there could be something like that where like, she wanted to do a different name or something. It was some old CEO, but it's actually really still her or whatever, Mm-hmm. So now we have the midpoint. Up until now, things have been fun and games, as previously mentioned, but here's where the movie gets serious. The midpoint is where the final big part of the story is revealed. This is halfway through the movie, and oftentimes it's a twist or the arrival of a new source of conflict. You realize there's a new additional problem that you have to deal with that makes it way more complicated. Also, if the characters need to learn something, this is oftentimes where they get confronted by an embodiment of the thing that they need to learn, but usually they're not ready to learn the lesson yet.
I like the picture frame thing then, because then it's like they still have to find Mew, but now they have to keep it a secret from their benefactor.
Yeah.
She might be shady.
That could be interesting. Another thing that I'm thinking about that could be interesting, although this isn't really a new problem, something that could happen around here is that there's like a problem they can't deal with, and Mew manifests a bunch of powers and like saves them.
Yes.
This is some sort of like plot point gets revealed. Do we want to have this be like they learn about it being the chocolate factory, or if not, I think they need to learn some sort of big secret about what's going on with this plot here. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this is the time where like the big mystery gets revealed. I think we should either have them learn about sort of where Mew came from, that he came from this tree, that sort of thing, or they could learn that the chocolate factory is responsible, but maybe not necessarily both. Maybe they could do one at the end of the movie.
I think it's better if one of the reveals is for at the very end.
Sure. Which one do you guys want to do first? Like, do you want to say they know where that the chocolate factory people are the bad guys and the Marquis is the bad guy, or do we want to say that they learn about Mew's origins?
I'd say Mew's origins.
I don't think that they ever find out about Mew's origins, but they find out that Mew, for whatever reason, is a thing that hibernates in this tree. You know what? I think they should find out about Mew last.
Well,
and right after Mew has fucked off.
Right. Well, so you don't want to have this be the point where they find, because it could be interesting if this is where they find the tree.
Okay, here's what I'm thinking. This is the point of the movie where they realize that the cat that they've been hanging out with has superpowers, but they don't put together that it's Mew.
Right.
They just think this is another animal that has weird powers. Just like, because if humans got weird powers, why not animals?
Actually, so here's what I think could be interesting. They've been reading information in the like journals that they've saying about this like creature that was uncovered. And this can be where they learn that Mew is the creature that was uncovered, and this creature they have with them is that. And the story could shift at this point from them wanting to protect Mew from the company.
Oh,
yes.
So that becomes the plot now is not solving the mystery, it's protecting Mew.
The mystery.
And now everybody knows that Mew is important, and like it could be that there's a group of superpowered people that show up that start trying to take Mew away, but they could not yet put it together that these people work for the Marquis. Because then we can save that reveal for later. So it's like a bunch of superpowered people show up, and they could be led by this Phantom. It could be like the Phantom and like some other people. And the Phantom is this person who just seems like this being of shadow who's all mysterious. And then there's a bunch of other people that are with the Phantom that are more like tangible, but they're like people in like tactical gear that have like minor superpowers. And here they start like fighting and trying to take Mew away. Do we like this?
I do. There's another possibility that occurred to me about them finding out that the Marquis's powers are based on manipulation, and that's why her company's never gotten in trouble, she's never gotten in trouble, and that they start putting together, oh my god, she actually controls so many things and is very manipulative and powerful and dangerous, and then everything starts falling apart because they cannot, she wanted that evidence destroyed. She wanted no one to know that.
We could actually maybe do that in the all is lost moment.
Oh,
if you want.
That would be good. You're right.
Because what we could have is Mew gets taken away from them or something, and what they do is they go back to the Marquis for help, and they tell the Marquis everything that they've learned, and then the Marquis turns on them. You know what I mean?
That's
okay,
good.
you're right. I like that better.
I think that's how we do it. So we say that they're oh, we fought this phantom and we learned these things, but we're missing a couple pieces, but we have 90% of the stuff, you know what I mean? And we have all this evidence that we've recovered,
nice. Jail.
My only question now is, how is it that the bad guys find out that rando white cat is Mew?
I think that we have there be some sort of problem and the heroes are in danger, and Mew manifests a bunch of powers to save them.
And we're probably under constant surveillance.
Right, yeah, because we've established they have a bunch of bugs in their suit and stuff like that. Mew's eyes turn all rainbowy and it hypnotizes the buff squirrel that's about to kill them. And then the squirrel turns away and they're like, what the heck is this thing? It was able to make the thing go away. It has some sort of power over them. And then we cut back to the Marquis base and she's listening on the conversation and she's send in an extraction team to get that cat. You know what I mean? Or
yeah. I love that. Because it is the Marquis, I believe, in Dangerous Liaisons is played by Glenn Close. I think.
All right, great. So this is.
Yes,
I've been picturing Sarah Michelle Gellar, but to each their own.
Why
I
not
suppose.
Both?
Midpoint is the reveal of Mew's powers. Bad guys close in. This team shows up and they start fighting them off. But in the end, Xena and Aldous lose and Mew gets taken away from them. I actually think a cool thing to do here is to have one of the reasons why be Aldous's reluctance to use his slime powers.
Sure. Yes.
Use your powers. What powers? Why would you say that in front of these strangers?
And she's I know you have slime powers. And he's I don't have slime powers. What are you talking about?
You have slime powers.
Right. And then so they get Mew taken away from them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They catch Mew in a ball that a special ball designed to catch Mew.
Yes.
It hits Mew in the face and then it absorbs it in a red light.
Kit, you can have that.
And then when they're on the run, please let us have the campfire scene.
Oh yes, and now we can have the slime scene. And now he explains his power and starts to make him accept his powers and that sort of thing, all right? All right,
oh my god, is that when they kiss for the first time? Because
Yeah.
they're all so
It can
sad.
be. For All Is Lost, we're at step 9 now out of 12. I think what's going to happen is they still have whatever packet of evidence that they've gathered, and some piece, I like the idea of rather than just being data, a piece of physical evidence that, maybe it's a signed document or something like that.
An
that,
old
you know what
letter.
I mean? Yeah, or something like that reveals there was some big explosion that did whatever. They go back to the Marquis and they hand it in and they're we think we solved it. We're 90% of the way there. This is your company though. So maybe you can help us put the pieces together of exactly what happened and who this person was who did this, and the Marquis is cool. That was me. You know too much. You gonna die now.
Yes.
Yep. Into chocolate jail with you.
We need to have some sort of moment. This is before the break into Act 3 where they're either in a jail thing or they're they need to be in some dark place talking about, oh, we lost so bad we can never go back, no, we have to fight, blah blah blah. So do they get captured? Why doesn't she just kill them right away? You know what I mean? What happens here and where do they end up at the end of this action
she
sequence?
can't kill Aldous because he has tons of followers. That would bring unwanted attention. He's been filming this whole thing.
Right. So that would be interesting if it's she can't kill them yet because she's gonna set up a staged death for them doing something else. So she's keeping them alive for right now in captivity.
Sure.
But she's gonna set up a car crash or something for them. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Seems really, I don't know, I guess in keeping with the way the Marquis does things is just to say, well, no one would believe you over me. So it doesn't really matter what you do. That's
a
so
good
controlling
thing, too.
and power move of you know what?
Ego.
I have so much power that if you try to say anything bad about me, I will destroy your little YouTube channel. I will destroy your life. And nobody will ever take you seriously ever again. And he's wanted to be taken seriously so badly.
I will upload so much Disney content to your channel, you will be taken down instantly.
I actually think that there's an interesting message here. There was a movie that I saw recently that dealt with some of these topics called Sorry to Bother You, which is a great movie, by the way. But it deals with this idea that, like, even if you think you kind of get all the pieces together and you can, like, expose something, the reality that we live in is there's some sort of scandal that comes out, and then there's a powerful person like, well, they're clearly ruined. We know this horrible thing about them. It's like, no, they're still rich and powerful, and they're going to remain rich and powerful, and this changes nothing.
Yeah.
And this big scam that's supposed to destroy this company or this famous person, they're just like, no, that's fine. No one cares even if you were to reveal this, and no one will believe you, and I have more power than you. You know what I mean? Like, so I actually think that would be interesting. So it's not like she's gonna kill them, but it's like they like put the pieces together and go to her, and she's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Like, you can't beat me still. You still can't beat me. You know what I mean?
Like,
so
bless you, that's cute.
Then in that case, our all is lost moment for them would be like them going home and being like, well, fuck, what do we do? There's this big company that did a bad thing and they're going to get away with it. So like, what is their plan? What do they come up with as a way to
I just want to say,
defeat them?
As a set dressing thing, that they are in Aldous's like shitty flat.
Aldous has to recruit his followers, man.
To do what?
I don't know.
But I get what you mean, that he has to sort of take advantage of this identity that he's created for himself in some way. But I also think it would be interesting if he used this as a chance to
break free of that.
Yeah, to announce his powers to these people and say,
oh, that's interesting.
Like, this is who I am, and it's not, I don't care if you think it's cool or not, this is who I am. I don't know how he's going to leverage that, but...
How do you use slime powers to defeat this?
Oh,
to defeat this person?
To some extent, like...
Cause a health hazard in the chocolate factory.
Oh, there's that. There's also, like, the enemy of any kind of powerful entity really is laughter, in a lot of ways.
It would be interesting if like, the way they defeat them is they come up with some way to just make people not want to eat the chocolate anymore, and like the company just goes out of business.
Yeah. Oh my god, they just bankrupt. I love that.
That's on like some kind of health hazard or something.
Yeah.
Do we want to consider the possibility that they don't defeat the corporation and the bad guys win and like things get covered up and nothing changes?
As long as we save Mew, whatever. That could actually be a good twist at the end. Like, it's not a happy ending.
It's not achieving the goal.
Oh, no, you don't have to achieve your goal for a movie to be over. Sometimes people fail.
I fucking hate movies where that doesn't have a happy ending.
Okay,
like that.
we need a happy ending.
I feel like, why did I watch this?
The other thing that the Marquis has been doing that's bad is that the Marquis is also the Phantom.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and if the Phantom is also like a criminal, we could have it be about exposing to the public the idea that the Marquis is also the Phantom. Even if like the corporate stuff doesn't work, that could be a way to oust the Marquis from the company. Like if the corporate stuff gets exposed, but it doesn't hurt them, because that's the whole thing that we're going with, is like the twist here is they get all the information, they expose it, and it doesn't hurt the company because the company is still rich and powerful.
Yeah.
So I think that the way they need to defeat the Marquis is by getting the Marquis ousted from the company. Maybe there's a benevolent second-in-command character who's like an actually nice person who's been helping them out a little bit, who they put in charge of the company instead.
Okay, in Dangerous Liaisons, the Marquis fucks with a lot of people.
Right.
We could have another very minor NPC that sort of represents...
Like a collective interest of people who don't like the Marquis? Is like that?
Another thing that we could bring back here is we had the cryptid hunter who was trying to figure out what the mystery is with Mew. We could have...
A Professor Willow, if you will.
We could have them go and find some information. Like, they could go back to that person's, like, house or something like that and find some information that they can use to expose the Phantom, and then they trick the Phantom into doing something, or, in some way, like, revealing that it's the Marquis. Because one of the things that happens in Dangerous Liaisons, or at least Cruel Intentions, is that one of the people who has been wronged by the Marquis in the past, like, speaks up.
Yes.
And we had the person who the Marquis got killed, and so I like the idea of them finding some evidence from beyond the grave or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes. I also want to come back to then the theme of the movie, which is accept who you are. The idea of these other people who've been wronged by her sort of not leaning into their full selves and just sort of going, no, I am proud of being like, of having slime powers or of having whatever goofy power it is. And instead, like, letting the Marquis control them.
So next up, we have the break into Act 3. They come up with a new plan, cross a new threshold, enter a new space, and then we have a final act where it's about a new thing, you know? So for this, I like the idea of if our message is accept yourself and the bad guy is a corporation and the accepting yourself comes in the form of like loving your own superpowers, I like the idea of like people rising up against the corporation that screwed them over.
Well, what if they start doing like mystery tests on people using the powers of Mew and it goes terribly wrong because they're trying to change people and
The bad guys have Mew right now.
yeah, so they start using it.
Thematically, one of the things that we're going with is the idea that these individuals can't defeat this corporation. They expose the secret and it doesn't matter. So I think that one thing we have to do is like, well, what is the solution? And the solution is you have to get enough people rallied together that your voices can't be ignored. You can't do it by yourself. You need others. So I think I like the idea that Aldous, who previously was not out about having like superpowers and was just like kind of this like whatever dude. I like the idea that he now reveals that he has superpowers, and in doing so, a bunch of other people on social media with superpowers like reach out to him, and they like get a little team together of misfits, and then they all go to free Mew together.
Yes! And then once Mew is out of the little container that Mew is in, from the other side, you just see like one of those big concrete walls just shatter, and then there's like a little tiny Mew. And then all these other misfits behind him. And they're like, oh, he just needed to be let out of his Tupperware.
So I like the idea if maybe before this, like all throughout the movie up until now, we've maybe had a couple side characters who, when we see one of Aldous's videos, it would like zoom out from the screen and we'd see like them at home watching the video. You know what I mean? Like a couple people around town. And then when he reveals that he has powers, they'll all like manifest a power like to themselves secretly. Like one guy sprouts wings. Another, like there's a girl who like makes a fireball in her hand and looks down at it and is like, yeah, I accept myself. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And then he's like, we're all going to show up and like protest at this factory to get Mew let out. And then the next day, like sort of break into Act 3 is like everybody like gets like signs together and stuff. And like, you know, starts like showing up at the factory and it's like, we want, you know, you to like whatever pay reparations and fix the town because there's this whole section of town you guys messed up. You know what I mean? With all this stuff that happened and you made all these monsters and you gave all these people like superpowers, stuff like this, and you need to take responsibility for it. And like they get a bunch of people like rallied together. And then like the Marquis could send in some goons to like round him up, and then the finale, which is the next section, could be like a super powered fight that breaks out.
All the superheroes show up.
Wait, I would really want this. I want Mew to somehow tame that Shetland pony Badger and like ride it into battle.
What?
Oh, absolutely.
That and the jacked squirrel is riding on the head of the Badger.
All right, sounds good. So they free Mew, and then Mew like whatever, a bunch of little forest friends come and attack the factory and stuff. All right. So any scenes that people wanted this finale, like this final fight where all of the goons who were serving the Phantom before are going to be there, and they're probably going to fight the Phantom itself and defeat it and, you know, lock up the Marquis and stuff like that. Are there any scenes that we want here of like...
Yeah, one of the ending shots needs to be a revolving camera shot of Xena and Aldous kissing, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. Well, we're not quite there yet. Still in the fighting section, like in the like the climax.
That should be in it. You just said climax. That will be in the fighting scene.
Oh, one of those kisses where it's like in the moment, in the heat of the moment.
No, you'd think that they wouldn't. It could be, but like at the same time, if Aldous is supposed to be like not a fame whore anymore, you'd think he wouldn't be doing it like while he's filming it. You know what I mean?
Look, there's no thinking involved.
All right.
It's a passionate.
That's true. Just the moment takes them.
I don't know. Somebody has to eat like this shadow insubstantial thing. This has to basically eat this Phantom. Does Mew eat it? Or so, I don't know why I'm obsessed with this, but I'm like, how else do you destroy it?
It suddenly comes out of nowhere.
Is this a vor thing? Why do you want it eaten?
That's how you destroy a spirit or something, right?
Can the secret to destroying the Phantom be slime?
Oh, yes! Yes, that's
Caustic slime.
Oh, yeah, I actually like the idea that it's like really sticky, and he like puts some on the ground as the Marquis is trying to escape, and like her feet stick to the floor. She gets like caught in the slime, and she like falls on her face, like trying to run away. She like steps in some slime and like slips and like falls over.
And Aldous is like rock, paper, scissors, shadow, slime.
Yeah, Xena punches a bunch of dudes. The Marquis slips on a bunch of slime, and the people rise up and tear down the factory, and Mew gets set free.
Yes.
We probably have a little bit where like Mew is like floating in front of them and they're like, Mew, tell us your secrets. And then Mew looks at him like, you already know the answer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's inside.
Except
you don't need
it's
to
like,
Mew. All right. Everybody got a new text message sound.
Maybe it's like in the Pokemon first movie where Mew just is speaking in its cat voice, and then there's like a Meowth-esque figure that's translating for Mew. Like the badger, the Shetland pony badger actually talks and is like translating for Mew.
English for some reason.
So now we're at the closing image, which is at the beginning, we had a few scenes of showing what our characters' lives were like, what their day-to-day was before. What do we have now as a sense of their new day-to-day? Like, what's their new status quo?
Aldous and Xena are together.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Does he still film her and he's like backup, or do they film each other? Or do they both just wear GoPros and like go out and do crazy like stuff together?
I think they do none of that. I think they move away to Greece.
And then it becomes Mamma Mia.
It would be cool if, like, before Mew leaves, like, it flies through that area of the town where, like, there was the weird, like, magic-y, glowy plant things. And, like, it somehow, like, absorbs the harmful energy away and then, like, flies away.
It. Yeah.
Yeah,
Aww.
and so, like, it's still overgrown with plants, but it doesn't have, like, the turns things into monsters anymore. It's just, like, really verdant. And then people can, like, move back in there.
Yeah.
And if we had, like, before the town was a bit, like, downtrodden or, like, overpopulated or whatever, there's, like, now cheap housing that has a bunch of plants around it, and it's, like, a nice new community.
And then it's an organic garden for everybody.
Personally, I'd like the last scenes to be of that, like, of Mew, and then Mew being able to just, like, relax. Like, either it goes back to sleep, or just carries on, like, peacefully.
Oh yeah, oh no, the last scene is definitely, like, Mew's work is done here. It is now bored, so it's flying through the sky past some clouds.
Yeah. It's like a shot-for-shot thing of the end of The Matrix, where, like, it ends with Neo, and it's the first time you see it fly throughout the entire movie, fly up and then fly into the camera, but with Mew, like, flying into the camera.
And I would like to think Xena and Aldous are looking up from their Grecian condo, and they see a shooting star, but they don't realize it's Mew, but they're like, oh.
Before we wrap up, now that we've finished the movie and we can think back on it, and we know what we were writing, and, like, we know what the ending is, and we know all the scenes we want, are there any scenes that we haven't mentioned that we want to, like, say would happen earlier in the movie?
I don't think so. Not in my opinion. I got my campfire scene, so I'm happy.
Mew definitely pranking the two people before they realize that Mew is special.
Using its powers to fuck with them?
Yes, absolutely.
I also think that at some point, Xena bridal carries Aldous, carrying him over a small creek.
In their, like, blissful, like, honeymoon scene together at the end, they need to somehow do something where Xena uses superhuman strength to do something sweet for Aldous, like, pulls down a tree and, like, pulls a flower off or something. I don't know. Like, or she super leaps up to the top of a cliff to get him a flower, and then he does something sweet for her using slime. I don't know what it would be. Like,
he makes her a slime flower back, and she smiles like, oh, you.
So cute.
The last thing we need to do, guys, we need a name for this movie.
Oh, God.
No. I was going to say, like, a terrible name for it. It was like, nope, that's a bad name for it.
It was going to be Chocolate something.
It was going to be Chocolate Danger.
I know, Chocolate Fury. I was thinking that.
I was like, wait a second.
I feel like the word sweet should be in the title.
Sweet and slimy.
Let's look up some rom-com titles and see if we can, copy-paste.
You could do something about, like, investigating the mystery of what's going on and, like, trying to find the answer to that is somehow incorporated into the title. I mean, we could do something like if the thing that sets them off is the name of this location, and the whole point of the story is they're going into this location, and this location ends up being the place where most of the movie takes place. The name of that location could just be the name of the movie. It could be called, like, Rose Hill or something like that. You know what I mean?
I did think of that, but that doesn't feel rom-com-y.
Yeah, it's not like a pun or anything. It's not, like, clever. But, like, I mean, it, like, has, like, a bit of a romantic touch to it because of, like, roses.
The hills have sweets.
Get the fuck out.
Because if we're doing the idea of, like, mystery and stuff like that, if about the idea of, like, love being a sort of unfathomable mystery, you know what I mean? I'm trying to think if there's some sort of saying that relates to that.
I'm a little punch drunk now, and now I'm coming with terrible titles. It's going to be Love, what the fuck?
Love, is it though?
All right, guys, I got one.
Okay.
I got one. Semi-sweet.
Oh, Oh.
Yes! Oh, Claire! Claire, you've done it
All right.
again.
I'm happy with semi-sweet.
Semi-slime.
Semi-slime? Slime chocolate. Let's just
Semi-sweet slime. Love is a semi-sweet slime. Don't think about that one too much.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm in pain. This hurts.
Life is like a box of slime. Tom, Fo, the Mew thinks?
Mew.
So I'm not going to mew it all. I'm going to say it in people. On Twitter, thank you to Meowingly, the New World Sonata Podcast, Jeff Rick Present, Florian, Matias Latimes, Cam, Dandy Kidboy, Cosplay Fiend, Cosplay Devotee, Sean Boyd, Rafael Medina, Robert Ramsey, David Capune, Pew 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 Pew. Sorry, I like your name too much. Jake, This Is a G Didn't Work, Decade Fan, JD Catch, the Gameable Podcast, Vladimir Duran, Jake the Oh, wait! Oh, never mind. Sorry, I noticed I wrote Jake twice. Okay, let's try this one. Here we go. Jake the Deflate Snake Make Cake Late. Duffy.
Does he do those just to mess with you?
Yes.
Or-
Yes.
Okay.
I'm so honored. Duffy, Bill Little, the Tuning Japanese Podcast, Troidal, Patrick Lucia, and Crinch, who by the way, Crinch, I really hope you're feeling better. Crinch was having a bad day a little while ago.
Oh, Cringe. I send you hugs.
I really hope we get to meet you someday.
Yeah.
Even though you're all the way in Scotland. Jesus.
Oh
That's
man,
far.
I'll come visit. I'll hang out on a piece of moss. I come from the desert. My understanding of I have been to Scotland, and yet my understanding of places with greenery remains very poor.
Oh god, on that mossy note, over to Tumblr. Thank you to Secretly a Skeleton G Prime, Flat Bunt. Sorry.
What?
That Blunt 69. I almost
Flat
said
Bunt 69.
I'm into this
Yeah.
flat bunt. It's like a bunt cake
Flat
that
bunt.
fell.
Sid Rabbit Blog, Changing Shades, and Meowingly. Meow. Over to Facebook, thank you to Adam Mayo, Daniel Kidder, David Waters, Matias Atimes, Duffy, and Robert Ramsey. And thank you to Michael Majasko. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your last name right. I'm sorry. But he wrote us a really awesome email. Y'all.
Oh my gosh.
Just and really funny. Thank you. I
Yes.
like
I cherish that email. I cherish it so much. As I cherish all the emails, but this was the most recent one, and so it is the biggest of cherishings in my mind currently.
He was very sad that he had caught up to all of our stuff and suggested maybe we live in a bunker with a lifetime supply of Hot Pockets and Lunchables to sustain us and just work on Smash Fiction forever.
I remember that was a very nice email.
It was
Yeah,
very
thank you very much.
lovely.
We appreciate that.
And I was like, we'd love to, but we'd probably kill each other if we had to stay in a small space locked together like that. But a very territorial species.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this week's episode of Collaboratory. This was a fun one. It was a weird one, but it was a fun one.
It's really weird.
Next week, we're back with another Smash Fiction match. Angel and Butterman from Hot Fuzz versus Carter and Lee from Rush Hour.
Smash Metafiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and Dan Mulcairn, with logo design by Claire Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, The Builder.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it would be Xena and Marquis, and like we come across Aldous and find him with the tattoos, and then I develop an attraction, and then the Marquis is like, "What? We were on a team. What the heck?"
Wait,
You
what
are
do you mean
not Xena
I?
for the purposes of this, by the way. We are writing a thing. This is not role-playing.
Oh, whoops, Xena. Duh.
It's fine.
No, I'm liking this.
Cool.
So this is in England. Okay, what kind
It
of
doesn't have to
corporation?
be England. It doesn't have to be England. It just has to be a town that got, it can be.
It might as well.
I like England
Cadbury's
so-
Corporation.
because then we can
No.
do accents too. So.
We're
No, Liz, we're not playing
We're
the
not
characters
role-playing
if you
this.
want.
Oh, damn it! Sorry.